I'm Jason Fletcher. I'm the Education Manager at Engineering Education Australia. And EEA is the training arm of Engineers Australia. So we're a wholly owned subsidiary of Engineers Australia. And one of the great things we get to work on is the Engineers Australia graduate program. Before we start official proceedings, I'd like to make an acknowledgement of country. So Engineers Australia acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands and waterways on which we meet. And we're calling in from all around Australia at the moment. So that's a lot of country to cover. And I pay my personal respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'm calling you today from Wadawurrung country, which is in Ballarat and extends all the way down the Midland Highway to the coast and covers some of the Geelong area as well. I'm also joined by my colleague, Alison Gutierrez, who's going to be maintaining the back of house features of Zoom that we're on at the moment. You'll notice at the top of your screen, there's a Q&A button. This allows you to ask some questions of myself and our special guest, and we'll get back to those questions at the end of the session. So as we're talking, if you think, I'd really like to know the answer to that, pop it in the Q&A section, and that way we'll capture all of those questions and we'll have time to discuss them at the end. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Libby Day, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Defence Teaming Centre. And Libby's carved out some time in her busy calendar to talk to us today about some of the pressing issues of the defence industry. And we'll jump into those questions shortly. But first, I'll hand over to you, Libby, if you'd like to introduce yourself and the Defence Teaming Centre for those who are perhaps not familiar.
Sure. Thanks, Jason. Great to be with you all today. So as Jason said, I'm Libby Day. For about the last 12 months, I've been the Chief Executive Officer of the Defence Teaming Centre. And who are we? DTC, as we're known, we're a leading not-for-profit defence industry member-based association dedicated to connecting, developing and supporting the Australian defence industry. Our focus is on enhancing Australia's sovereign defence industrial capabilities and increasing competitiveness in the global defence market. Our vision is to create an ecosystem that can meet the ever-evolving needs of the Australian Defence Force.
Fantastic. Thanks, Libby. Well, maybe we'll kick off with a question for you, and it's about the challenges that are facing the defence industry in Australia, which will be of keen interest to the viewers of this particular webinar.
Sure. Look, I've touched on it a little bit, but let me just give a bit of an overview of what the defence industry really is. It's a broad cross-section of major defence companies that we call primes and smaller companies, SMEs, plus academia and others who produce goods and services, research, innovation, technology, all across the areas of defence, that is maritime, army, air force, cyber and space. Defence industry participants are committed to keeping our nation safe and protecting the way that we live in Australia and in the region so that it's peaceful, stable and prosperous. Since early 2024, the Australian government has been releasing a number of key defence documents or reviews, all of which outline how it will be more focused in its approach to defence in light of the current geopolitical circumstances that we face. The strategy coming from these documents seeks to grow Australia's industrial base, which currently employs about 100,000 Australians, and deliver a greater partnership between defence and defence industry. As I said, Australia needs to really up its game and have a greater sovereign capability, and that is the ability to produce in Australia and using Australian companies to support more focused defence structures. And the role of defence is changing too. Cyber conflicts, the use of AI, artificial intelligence, autonomous systems are all replacing more traditional defence means. So therefore, that's a profound shift in the skills and capabilities of a modern armed force. On top of that, the introduction of AUKUS, that is the tripartite arrangement between Australia, the UK and the US. We know that through the delivery of nuclear submarines, but also through Pillar 2 in a lot of high-tech innovation, means that Australia is also very focused on the huge obligation under this partnership. So back to the real challenge, and I guess why we're here today, is as I go around and I speak to member companies in defence industry, and with Australian state, federal politicians and their agencies, and also those overseas, the number one thing that they're all most concerned about is the future workforce and skills required to deliver these requirements. A lot of that is STEM-based, and the role of engineering in defence industry cannot be underestimated. So it is very timely, and I am thrilled that we're here today having this conversation in partnership with Engineers Education Australia to talk about this course and what it can do and deliver for graduate engineers so they can understand the requirements of defence industry.
Fantastic. Thanks, Libby. They're really great insights. Two takeaways that I reflected upon was the capability uplift across Australian industry, particularly around sovereign capability, and also that concept of partnerships, of partnering with, whether it's international partners or business partners or even organisation partners to help meet those challenges. Which brings me to my next question. Can you tell us about the Defence Teaming Centre and Engineers Australia strategic partnership?
Sure. Well, look, this is all, as you said, this is a great example of where we're partnering for the end result, and that is Defence Teaming Centre being leaders in developing and advocating and connecting members, and Engineers Education Australia in the collaboration to offer graduate engineers a professional development program to pave the way for their participation in the exciting opportunities that are here now and also on the horizon in the defence sector. As I've touched on, there are massive opportunities, particularly coming from the engineering sector in support of Australia's defence ambitions. So it's great that we've done this now at this particular time, and we've joined forces in our strengths to be able to deliver this.
Fantastic. Thank you. Well, Engineers Australia's mission, of course, is to improve society through the practice of great engineering. And as we know, in the ever-shifting geopolitical environment in which we live and work, engineering will play a key part of that. So thank you for those insights. Very interesting. I'll just remind everyone who's participating in the webinar today that we do have the Q&A section. So if you do have a question based on what Libby's mentioned already or what I'm about to talk to you about, please pop that into the Q&A section and we'll get to your questions towards the end. So thanks for that great introduction, Libby. We're now going to talk about the Engineers Australia and Defence Teaming Centre graduate program. So this is a program that's delivered specifically for engineers who are working in the defence industry space. So the program has a number of aims that include developing skills for defence industry engineers. So what are the specific skills that engineers need in this area? It helps engineers in their early career understand the impact of their work and their behaviour on the success of their work and also on their colleagues. It enables graduates to become confident, proactive and capable leaders. We realise that with skill shortages, that war on talent, as we like to say, is very fierce, and so graduates will have the opportunity to fast track their careers. And so right at the very start of their career journey, we start to talk about leadership opportunities, things like chartership, sit on the near horizon. And then, of course, as I've said, we start to talk about that journey towards chartered status. But perhaps as equally important, we talk about this concept of lifelong learning. I like to say to engineering graduates that one of the superpowers you bring to your employers is most up-to-date knowledge and learning and models and all of the sorts of things that you've brought with you from university. And then when I talk to engineers who are further down in their career, I realise that they also brought those superpowers when they started, but a lot of those skills and knowledge are now out of date because, as Libby mentioned in her talk on the challenges, we live in an ever-changing world with things like cybersecurity threats, artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, and the like. So, if engineers take one thing out of this program, it's that concept of continually developing their careers through lifelong learning. So how's the program structured? Well, we deliver the program in 4 modules and it's across 18 months. We have 2 intakes a year, one sort of at the start of the year, around about February, March, and then one later on in the year, around that sort of August, September time. We begin with a module that we call personal capabilities. So a new graduate engineer is just starting out in the workplace. What are the skills and behaviours and knowledge that they need to help them succeed in that first 6 months? As an organisation, we did very extensive research to find out what graduates needed and wanted, and also what their employers needed and wanted. And we found there was actually a very strong overlay in terms of the sorts of things that people wanted to know. So we talk about that foundations for professional and personal growth, developing their self-management, so talking about themselves and their interpersonal skills, and then also taking that responsibility for their own career. I like to say to early career grads, you'll have lots of mentors and managers and people that are very interested in your career success, but no one will be more interested in it than you will. So you need to take that kind of driving seat. We then move on to the defence module. So this is fundamentals of the Australian defence industry, and it provides an overview of Australia's defence sector. It's delivered via a longer form e-learning course that people can do over a period of time. It really takes a deep dive into how the defence industry is structured, how does it work, how does it interface and interact with the Australian Defence Force. And then also the role and influence of politics. And that's just not Australian politics, that's the geopolitical and international political landscape with which this industry operates. From then we move to professional skills. And so we've started with sort of thinking about yourself in personal capability skills. So what do I need to help get started on my career? We've then broadened your area of thought into, well, what's the industry I'm working in? How do I understand how that works? And now, again, we broaden it into, okay, what's the context of your work as a graduate within the team that you work and within the organisation that you work? So we're starting to talk about leadership and professional capabilities. Things like strategies for stakeholder collaboration, navigating change, and then working effectively in diverse teams. And a lot of grads will rotate throughout different teams in their graduate journey. So again, this is a really important lesson to learn. How do you get up to speed very quickly with a new team? And then finally, we wrap it up with an applied project management module. This is where we tie it all together. Now, we appreciate that graduates may have studied project management at university, and they're probably actually working on projects in their careers as well. So this isn't designed to sort of teach you all of the basics. What it's really designed to do is say, how do you apply everything that you've learned so far in a project management context? So using these principles to solve problems, focusing on things like ethics and sustainability. And I'll give you an example. So you might be facing a challenge in your project work. And so the learning point might say, how does growth mindset help you in this situation? Well, how does your stakeholder engagement that you covered in professional skills assist you here? So it's a great learning technique of scaffolding the learning, reflecting upon it later on, and applying it to the work that you're doing. So in terms of the nuts and bolts of what each of these modules cover, I'll just very quickly run through the sort of the high-level topics for you. So professional capability, we look at professionalism, so your personal brand, effective communication in the workplace, time management. And this is a really interesting one because someone said to me quite recently, why do we teach time management to grads? Because they probably would have got a handle of that when they were in university. And it was just pure chance that week I'd been talking to a graduate about time management. And they said to me, this is one topic I really enjoy because when you're at university, your life is timetabled for you. You've got your timetable and you have lots of spare time. And now I'm at work, I'm really busy and I've got to manage my own time. So it's a different mindset there. We talk about things like emotional intelligence. So as I said at the start, you're bringing lots of technical intelligence to your work, but emotional intelligence is a really key aspect of succeeding in the workplace. You're building up your resilience because, it's a busy, difficult time of life for graduates commencing their careers. Everything becomes serious, relationships, money, work, time, all of these sorts of things. So this program is designed to help support people with that transition. And then, as I mentioned before, talking about career development. So how do you take your career to the next step? The fundamentals of the defence industry, we look at an overall industry overview. We talk about capability development at a number of points through there. And by capability, we're talking not just about skills capability, but about defence capability as well. So Libby mentioned the AUKUS alliance and treaty. So, nuclear submarines is, clearly going to be a part of that capability. We look at the ADF's defence capabilities across the three main branches of defence, the Royal Australian Air Force, the Royal Australian Navy and the Army. We take a look at the Australian government and the various agencies that are involved and influence not just the ADF, but particularly the defence industry itself. So the companies and organisations that are supporting that defence capability. We talk about politics, not so much as we perhaps talk about politics day to day with, different political parties and things like that. But again, that broader context of how does the Australian political system, from states and territories through to our international obligations as a member of the United Nations and various treaties, influence and affect the defence industry. And we also talk about innovation and the sorts of things that we can do around topics like procurement. From then we go into professional skills, so change management, managing conflict in teams. I really love this topic, situational leadership. So it's a concept that graduates will learn that you don't need to have manager in your title to be a leader. People can lead across a whole range of different things. I'm a father of a high schooler and a primary school age child, and my daughter in grade 6 told me about something that happened at school yesterday, and I said that was great situational leadership. Yes, you really stepped up and helped another kid out. We talk about negotiation. So how do you negotiate with your colleagues and stakeholders? Delegation and escalation. So, when is it time to actually pass a problem along and involve other people? And then this really important topic, influencing stakeholders. I remember a conversation I had with a very senior engineer, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and we're talking about this, project management. And I said, what's a lesson you've learned in your engineering career? And he said, it's all about stakeholders. And I've always filed that way around. He said, at the end of the day, it's all about stakeholders. And then, as I said, we wrap it up with the applied project management. So talking about ethics, problem solving, that project management life cycle, ever important topic of risk management and stakeholder management again. Give you a visual representation of how this journey plans out. And I won't go into the detail of this one. It's more just a visual reference. So the first module goes over 18 weeks, and I'll talk about the different elements of it. So there's some e-learning that happens beforehand. We call them pre-learns. And this is where you will learn some of the models and topics and content that you'll need to take into the workshop. We have some e-learns. We have the workshops, and I'll talk about those in a moment. E-learning and portfolio projects, this thing called In the Works, and then a presentation activity, and the module finishes. So you work your way through personal capability that goes for 18 weeks. The fundamentals of the Australian Defence Force is a slightly shorter module because it doesn't have the workshop component. It's a fully delivered as an online self-paced course. So that goes for around about 4 weeks. And then you move into professional skills, and then finally applied project management. We say those modules go for around about 6 months each, but it really is kind of 18 weeks. And that gives you time to block in leave or, other activities if you're moving around with your role as a graduate. So how does these different components operate? Well, I mentioned workshops. These workshops are designed to be learner-centric. They're not teacher-centric or content-centric. So what do I mean by that? So in the virtual workshop space, we have these 2 pre-learn e-learning courses, which again, teach you about some of the main concepts and topics. So that when we get to the virtual workshop, it's not about teaching you things, it's about discussing and looking at the context of how that works with the graduate's work situation. So I'll give you an example. We have the e-learnings are very interactive, they're very engaging, and they have a social learning element in it. So there could be a question, can you tell me about a tough stakeholder that you're working with at the moment? So Libby logs onto her e-learning course and she goes, oh, well, as a matter of fact, I'm working with a tough stakeholder at the moment, and writes a reflection piece on there. Alison comes in next and goes, oh, I've got a similar thing, writes it down and so forth. So we're building this collateral of shared experience. When we get to the virtual classroom, the facilitator might go, oh, Libby, you've got a fantastic example of a tough stakeholder. Do you want to share that with the group? So Libby gets a chance to talk about her personal experience. Alison says or feels, I've got a similar experience, so I'm not on this alone. Okay, it's something that other people are experiencing too. So it helps with that resilience. And then I'm sitting there thinking, I'm probably going to be asked this question next. So I better pay attention to what's happening in the virtual classroom. So we find we've got great levels of engagement, great discussion that happens. It's slightly different than if we deliver a face-to-face workshop. So it's a different experience, but it's the same outcomes. You still get the great learning that comes from it. Very much an engaging thing. We ask people to have their cameras on, breaks, and we've structured it in such a way that you can focus and concentrate in that virtual classroom environment. From there, we go into a series of e-learning courses. So for the EA modules, there's 10 topics for each of those modules. And this allows graduates to take a deep dive into it. So what are the nuts and bolts? If I use time management as an example, some grads will have great time management skills because they've graduated from university and they've succeeded in that part of their career, what we might talk about is some different models. So, how does the Pomodoro technique work? Or how does the Manana principle work? We get people to practice those skills and say, well, try it out for a bit and see how you go. And then, of course, there's those social learning elements as well, where they can share their learnings and findings, and other people going into the course can read those comments, add their own reflections. So they're spaced out across those 18 weeks. So they're delivered. They nominally go for around about an hour each, depends on how quickly you read and how deeply you want to dive into them. But yeah, really good opportunities to practice what you've learned in the workshop. We have this new feature of the grad program, which I'm personally really excited about, called portfolio projects. Now, they're not projects like a school project or an assignment kind of thing. They're really about thinking around your practical application of the theoretical knowledge and applying those concepts to the work that you're doing now. So it's not something extra that you have to do. It's actually just based on what you're working on. And it really enables you to personalize your learning and development journey for a graduate, and then showcase those skills and get constructive feedback. So how they work, and I'll use time management again as an example, the portfolio project will get people to reflect upon how they're applying that skill and collect some evidence for it. So it might be, a copy of your day planner, or it might be, a short reflection piece. You can use a video or an audio file, or you can type something in, some bullet points, some text to say, this is how I'm applying it, and this is what I've learned, so this is what's working for me, and this is what's not working for me. Because we know as an adult learning principle that it's when you reflect upon something afterwards that it really starts to consolidate in your neurons. If I just tell you something now, we never talk about it again, the chances of remembering it are probably slim. Whereas if we both go away and write down a reflection on what the discussion was about and our thoughts, we're starting to internalize it. But then if we go and talk to somebody else about it and say, look, I had this great conversation with Libby today. She explained these challenges of the Australian defence industry. Then I can get some other insights. And so portfolio projects, we're finding, are having two really strong benefits. One is it's helping people learn the material. So they're just not encountering it in the e-learns and the workshops, they're encountering it in the workplace where they're applying the skills. The reflection piece is enabling them to really consolidate what they're learning and pick and choose what's working for them, what can they try differently. But then just as importantly, by sharing that with a mentor or a line manager, and this is a secure platform that they can share this information with, the portfolio platform, they can start to build that relationship. So the managers might say, oh, you're working on time management. I've got this fantastic technique that I've used for years. Here, let me show you. Or you're talking about risk management. Here's the framework that we use at this particular organization. Or why don't you go and talk to that person because they're an expert in stakeholder engagement. Get them to take you along to a site meeting and the like. So the portfolio projects it's really kind of the hero piece I'm finding with the new program, because it enables people to practice their skills, reflect upon them, share that with someone, a mentor or a trusted advisor. I'll briefly go through the process. So they take the action, so they practice the skills, they write an assessment piece and collect that evidence. And that's actually really good practice for chartership as well, because chartership is about demonstrating your capability. So if you've already got practice of recording your evidence and the like, this is really good practice. You upload it to the portfolio platform, and then you can share that via a secure link to the person who you want to share it with, and then finally have a discussion with them and integrate any feedback that you might have. Another feature of the program, and this will perhaps be of interest to people who are dialing in from an organisation perspective, reporting. So how do you know what your grads are up to? Are they enjoying the program? Are they learning something? Where are they up to? It's not an academic program like perhaps a university thing where we have set hard dates of things that need to be delivered and we're grading papers and portfolio projects and the like. And so we give indicative dates and we deliver the content in a way that grads should be able to get it done within 1 to 2 hours a week of effort. But what busy L&D managers want to know is, where are people up to? Are they learning something? What's going on? So we collect feedback forms from our participants and even from the facilitators of the training, and provide a really simple report, 5-star ratings. What do they think of the content? Can they apply it to their work? Would they recommend it to other people? These sort of questions. And we also have a very simple traffic light or report to show where people are up to. So at a glance, you could look and go, right, well, these people are all green, no problems. Hang on, we've got some people that are slipping behind here. Maybe I need to reach out and do a bit of a care call for those people. Because we find out that if people are struggling with a program such as this, it's typically indicative of other things that are going on in the workplace. Like, too busy at work, or stresses in their personal life and those sorts of things too. So again, an easy, just at a glance reporting for managers. I mentioned that in the Works webinar. So this is a series of webinars that we deliver across the program. They're hosted by the very talented Dr. Ross Yates, who's a professor of project management at Edith Cowan University. But he's also a great media kind of personality. He's got this fantastic studio in his house. And what Ross does is interview engineers. And these could be, maybe EA's Young Engineer of the Year, or it could be someone who's got a particular expertise in a topic. And Ross will interview that person, and we'll have it as a webinar for people to dial in. And that's across the whole grad program. So you might find you'll get a chance to see some other people in that webinar. At the end of the 3 EA modules, we recommend that graduates make a presentation to perhaps their managers, particularly if they're rotating around. It's a great way to kind of end off that rotation, 6-month rotation, but to talk to their organisation leaders about what they've learnt, how they've applied it, what benefits they've seen. It really gives those graduates a chance to shine, and also for the L&D people to get that acknowledgement from their organisation's leaders that, this program's really delivering some great outcomes for everybody. Anyone who's enrolled in the program and qualifies for EA membership will include a complimentary graduate membership, so we'll pay that for you. And that opens up opportunity to attend things like networking events. There's additional technical skill building, webinars, in-person events, all sorts of things. Hundreds and hundreds of events across the year and across the country. The EA membership can open up access to things like mentoring opportunities, a repository of training videos. There's a whole bunch of different services and things that are available for Engineers Australia members. And we also provide a webinar around chartership and membership, so you can gather what you can do there. So just to wrap up, what are the key benefits of this new program? So one is, from an organisation perspective, recruitment and retention. Libby mentioned capability of people to be able to do the jobs, and the industry itself is of paramount importance. So a structured learning program such as this will certainly help that recruitment piece, because you can say to grads you're hoping to hire, we've got this fantastic graduate program that's available, and then it goes for 18 months and keeps people actively engaged and working on their skills. Libby mentioned primes and also SMEs. This program works as a turnkey solution. So if you're a smaller organisation and you've just got one or two or just a handful of grads that you're working with, this could be the graduate program, if that makes sense. You don't have to do too much extra on it because it's quite a comprehensive one. But conversely, if you're a larger organisation that already has an internal graduate program, particularly one that might involve rotations, might have some internal training, some soft skills training, some technical training, this program doesn't replace any of that. It's very much designed to align with what you're doing in an organisation. And for larger organisations, we can even have a chat to you about, well, how can we tailor and contextualise the program to suit your particular needs? So, for example, the people that are interviewed in the works, do we get someone who is an expert in the area that you're in? Those sorts of things as well. So it very much works across that whole gamut of smaller organisations through to larger organisations. And certainly for the larger organisations, if you're hiring lots and lots of grads, we can talk about, well, do we deliver those workshops in-house in your premises with a facilitator as a face-to-face thing, or at an EA premises, or those sorts of things too. So plenty of options there depending on whether you're a larger or smaller organisation. A real key aspect of the course is providing job-ready skills and developing them when they're needed. So cast your mind back to the start of my presentation, talking about those modules. They're delivering the skills that people need when they need them. So first 6 months is a very difficult time in anyone's career. What are the skills you need to help get going from there? Then we move on. What do you need to know about the industry? Then we move on. What do you now need to know about working in a broader context of your team and organisation? And then finally, how do you tie it all together from a project management perspective? So we're finding that the feedback we're getting from people that are doing the regular graduate programs, so not this defence orientated one, is that it really is delivering the skills that people need. Grads are feeling confident, resilient, capable, and comfortable in their roles, which is what we want. But organisations are getting grads who are actually doing productive, useful work rather than the opposite. As I said, reporting makes life really easy for grads and also for their employers, because they can see at a glance where they're up to and what they need to do next. The system that we hosted on, our learning management system, has automated announcements. We provide a booklet to people at the start of the program that has all of the dates, so they can block them out in their diaries for the workshops. provides all of the information about what's covered, when it's covered, those sorts of things too. So people have a really good sense of what the program's going to deliver and when, so they can structure their time accordingly. And as I mentioned, the portfolio projects, they can springboard those development conversations. So we probably know that, particularly for companies that have grads that cycle through a rotation, so sometimes they've got a manager who's fantastic and says, "Yep, I've got lots of time to devote to developing this grad, and it's a great experience for everybody." Sometimes you'll rotate to a team that's really busy, it's snowed under, and the managers would love to spend the time with the grads, but it's really busy trying to do other things. So what these portfolio projects do is enable those discussions to happen within the context of the work that people are doing. So it's not something extra for the manager. The manager can then understand how this program operates and how it's benefiting them because their grads are developing the skills that they need. And some really heartwarming feedback I got from a graduate recently was that they felt that these product development conversations were building a personal relationship with that manager. She said, "I feel like he understands what I'm learning and where I'm at and where I'm going next." And it was just a short conversation, but it gave us something to hang that conversation on. So yeah, a really powerful part and benefit of the course. So that wraps up the overview of the program. I'll introduce you again to Alison Gutierrez, who's been monitoring the questions in the Q&A. And I'd encourage anyone else who's got questions, please pop them into the question and answer section, and we'll do our best to answer them. If we can't answer a question, we'll take it on notice and we'll provide the answer later on. But over to you, Alison.
Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you, Libby. That conversation was very insightful. There are a few questions there that participants have submitted, some of them that are duplicated somehow, so I have tried to collect them all for you to help us reply. So the first thing that I want to mention, and one of the questions that is there, is how that program came live. So how the program started. So I want to mention, Jason, the awards that the program has got in the previous time and last year, and how this partnership with DTC have really elevated the pitch. So perhaps Libby and you can chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I might kick off and then hand to you, Libby, for this one. So, yeah, thanks, Alison. This program is based on the Engineers Australia graduate program, but as I said, contextualised to the defence industry with an additional module around that industry. We have other industry programs too, power and rail, and we're working on a water one at the moment. But the Engineers Australia graduate program has won a number of learning and development industry awards around best instructional design, best skills development program for an industry-specific program, and a whole bunch of other ones. We've got a new trophy cabinet at work and so forth. But we also know, just through our consulting with customers and grads and the feedback, that this program is really delivering what graduates need and what employers need. So Libby, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, look, thanks for that. As I said at the outset, there's never been a more interesting time in defence in terms of the geopolitical situation we find ourselves in. But defence is about innovation, and innovation comes from problem solving and being able to put goods and services in the hands of the armed services. So a lot of that is the direction of what the government wants and needs, but really for engineers and for people with highly technical skills to be able to deliver that, new innovations that then can be used, is a lot of what defence is about as well. So to be able to take a technical skill base such as engineering and deliver it along with workplace learning, and as we all know, that's incredibly different from when we're at university, whatever we did. This is really a fantastic example of how it's preparing graduates who want to work in the defence space, plus making sure that they have the skills and the mindset and workplace learning so that from day one they are adding value and continuing that lifelong growing as part of their careers, because really that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Jason and Libby. I think that's a great response, and it's all about the partnership elevating a good baseline that we already have with the graduate program. So thank you so much. Next question that is actually duplicated several times is about the requirements for graduates to join the program. Perhaps, Jason, you can help us with that. what are the requirements from graduates to be able to enroll?
Yeah, thanks, Alison. I skimmed through some of those questions. So the program is really designed for people in that first to third year of their career. So people are really just starting out as graduate engineers. I noticed there was a question there. Someone said they've got 15 years of experience, but they've just joined the defence industry, for example. So certainly the EA modules are really designed at that graduate level. They're designed for engineers. I saw a question there was about software engineering. Engineering is engineering, so it's very much suitable to them. And a lot of the topics and things that are covered would be relevant to many people. So, I actually used one of those time management techniques myself the other day. I had a deadline and said, right, I'm going to try that Pomodoro technique out, and got my timer and away I went. So yeah, very much useful, but the contextualization of it is really around defense and engineering. So if you're not working in one of those type of roles, then it might not have as much impact on your development. But that probably leads to the question about, well, that defense module itself, which is really just talking about the industry, can people just enroll in that one? So that's a discussion we're having as an organization. In the back of my mind, I think would be a great module for people joining the industry later on. So if Alison and I went and joined one of the defense companies, how would we learn about the industry and so forth? So that we'll park the answer to that question, but that's certainly a discussion that we're having at the moment. But in terms of the program itself, it's designed for people who are engineers or in an engineering kind of related discipline, people who are working in their particular industry and who are at that early stage of their career.
Thank you, Jason. Next question is about the closing date for nominations and registration for the next intake. And I will add a bit there, saying that the sooner the better, because definitely we organize the course having in mind the location and the industry and the organization. So definitely the earlier the better. The enrollments are closing on the program is starting on the 12th of September. So we're closing enrollments and registration on the 6th of September. So if you need any additional information, you can contact us so we can provide you with everything that needs to be completed before process registration. Any details are missing, Jason, there? Oh, I'm good.
No, I was hoping you were going to answer that question, Alison, because you're the expert in that particular field. And the earlier the better. We do have limits in terms of how many people we can enroll as well, and occasionally our graduate programs will sell out. But likewise, particularly if you want us to come and have a chat to your organisation, if you've got a large cohort of grads and you want some more detail, Alison and her colleagues are more than happy to have a conversation with people.
Yeah, that's great, Jason. Thank you so much. There is one about can the students be software engineers?
Yes, I believe so. We get people from a whole range of different engineering disciplines, from civil, mechanical engineering, electrical, environmental engineers, and the like. Although we don't have an industry area of practice in software engineering in Engineers Australia, it's certainly one that's been discussed. So by all means, and we've had software engineers in the past. I just saw a question there too, Alison, around the time commitment per week. So the workshops themselves are fixed moments in time. So if it's a virtual workshop, they're delivered over three-hour sessions. We don't expect people to sit in front of their computers for 2 days. If it's a face-to-face workshop, it's delivered over 2 days, back-to-back, if you're bringing people together. But from then, it's usually around about 1 to 2 hours a week. If you assign yourself 2 hours a week, all of the e-learns are mobile-friendly. So if you've got a device and a long commute, you can tackle your e-learning courses on the train or on the bus. Portfolio projects, again, are designed to be part of your work. So what you're doing, and your management conversations are part of what your one-on-ones and things will be doing as well. So we haven't built this program to add an extra burden on people. It's really to support what they're doing in the workplace and enable them to do that with confidence and skill.
Thank you, Jason. That's fantastic. There are some companies talking about the benefits of having the program and being part of the DTC and the Engineers Australia and Engineering Education Australia, kind of creating that partnership. Libby, can you add kind of a little bit on that regards, on how that partnership can benefit the organization that are signing up for the program?
Yeah, I think the partnership's really important because we're bringing the best of the skills for what engineers do, but how that directly fits into defence. And defence industry, as I said, is very broad. Software engineers are needed, electrical engineers, you name it. Many, many skills are needed. Project management, the lot. So I think by us partnering to be able to deliver this program, particularly for graduate engineers, it's giving you the best get start possible for this industry. And retention is a key part of this. We need lots of people in the industry, but we need them to stay in the industry, of course. And a lot of that is around other elements that this course provides. So I think it's really a winning formula for sure.
Thank you so much, Libby. I think that advocacy part and component from DTC and EA, talking with organizations, researching about what they need, making sure that we are integrating state-of-the-art initiatives that actually address the issues is definitely crucial and something that we're very proud of. So yeah, Libby, you are spot on the expertise from very good organizations joining forces to develop something great for our workforce is fundamental. I'm an engineer, and I would love to have had the opportunity to join a program like this, to have all that expertise, all that knowledge, but also kind of creating networks. And that is one of the benefits of the program. As part of the program, you have the EA membership, which will allow you to have that social connection, to be able to have more professional development even outside of the program, and that definitely contribute to enhancing that industry and uplifting the sector. So thank you so much for your answer, Libby. Thank you.
There was a couple of questions which probably can group together. There's some questions around when does the program start? So we have a September intake that's starting, but we also have the February-March intake, which is typically the larger of the intakes because grads will often commence their work around about that time of year. So yeah, we do have those two intakes. It's probably worth pointing out too that this is a program that is purchased by companies. It's not purchased by individual grads themselves. So it's an employer-sponsored program. So it's not something that we sell to individuals. We sell it to companies, and there was a question around, well, how many people have gone through it and, how many do we typically see and so forth. This program's been around for a long time. It's just the defence version of it's the brand new one. So we're kicking that off with this September cohort. In my job, I meet people who've done the EA graduate program back from the 1970s and onwards and so forth. It's a program that's in continual refresh and renewal. This is just a brand new version of it that we've just launched. So things like the automated reporting and portfolio projects are brand new. It's been in the market for about a year, I think, Alison. Those first two modules of people have come through, and yeah, the feedback's been very gratifying. We don't sit on our laurels, of course. We've got a continual improvement process, and we're constantly fixing things up and so forth. So, but we would have hundreds of people that would do our graduate program every year.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Jason. I think to wrap up a little bit, they're talking about the benefits and if, or perhaps we address first, the citizenship requirement. Because that is something that has been there in 3 or 4 questions that the people have submitted. Are there any restrictions in terms of the citizenship requirement for graduates to join us in the program?
From the program's perspective, I'll get you to answer that, Jason, because defence industry is a little unique.
No, we don't, but the defence industry does have requirements about. Right. So yeah, I'll leave for you to answer that one, Libby.
Yeah. So look, not to do this course, of course, or the program, working in the defence industry does require defence clearance. Now, that depends on the projects you're working on and to what degree you might require that security clearance. And that's something that's obviously you would be across as you work in an organisation and as you have exposure to various levels of capability and information. So it's not a you will need that in your career as you work in defence industry, but the type and the timing of that, that's not a black and white answer. That would be dependent on the projects that you're working on, and the like.
Yeah, thank you, Libby, and also thank you, Jason. I think, if you are a graduate, if your organization have you allocated as a graduate, if you already are working on the defense industry in different capacity, and they submit the forms for you to process enrollment, for us to process enrollment for you, you are eligible and welcome to join the program. It's more about the projects and getting that position where it is kind of a key factor there to consider. But to join the program, there are no restrictions. You can learn from everywhere. You can, the program is designed to be flexible and provide opportunity for people that are in different parts of Australia, but also of the world. So, blended online and very flexible is actually a key point there to allow people to engage and to complete the program. So thank you so much for answering that. I think there are a few about if we are sharing the slides. So yes, we are going to be sharing the slides after this. So keep an eye open for the email after the webinar. And we also aim to edit the recording to make sure that you also have that as a reference. But more than that, if you want more information, if you want to hear more about the program, the partnership, if you want to share that your priorities and contextualize the program, please contact us. I have submitted answer a question with our email address, the general one that we are all monitoring. So we would love to discuss further about the opportunities that we have to work closely together and to support your workforce. So please be in touch. That's one of the questions. There are many questions. Most of them are kind of with similar topics. There are some questions about the importance of or more comments about the importance of the defense sector to help the economy and Australian performance as a whole. So really good comments about how important is this program to help support that. There are some questions about the duration of the program, the start date, and the fees. So I'm going to go very quickly through that information so you have it all in one place. So the next intake is on the 12th of September. Registrations are open already, so you are welcome to submit your expression of interest. We will provide you with the forms and complete the registration. Very easy. Individuals only need the support from their organization, so it is compulsory to have company and participant details and approval. So you will receive 2 forms to be completed. The fees for the program are $5,990 plus GST per participant, and that covers 18 months of professional development activities, and is quite affordable and pretty much well organized, and we can provide more details about that. 12 months, the workshops at the beginning of every module, but also the commitment from participants to be able to allocate maximum 2 hours per week to develop the activities and to apply what they are learning in the workplace, which is actually the benefit for organization and how you have a safe space to improve and get the practical skills developed in the workplace. So I think we have covered most of the questions, if not all. If any question escaped from our filter here today, we will be able to send the responses once the webinar has finished. So as I said, the slide will be shared, and we can also can share the information. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks, Alison, and thanks, everybody. We work with a range of different organisations and companies across this program. It probably links into a couple of questions that people have answered around stakeholder engagement. Do internal stakeholders count? Because that grads might not be dealing with external stakeholders. So very much it's about internal stakeholder engagement as much as anybody else. I'll give you a little sneak peek into one of the sections of the Defence module. So working with the subject matter expert from the Defence Teaming Centre, part of the content that was delivered to us was an interaction or a thing about badges and insignias of officers within the Defence Forces. And I was talking to the subject matter expert and said, look, I think that's a nice to know, but maybe not a needs to know. And he said, yeah, but it's actually really good to know if you ever meet an officer within the context of your work, you know whether that person's a decision maker or not. You know how important, because you might be talking to someone who's a junior officer who's, promising you the world, but they've actually got no decision-making power. So we've included that as like an optional learning activity. All of the modules have an extend your learning aspect to it. So you cover what you need to know, but as engineers, you're naturally curious and you might want to know more. So we offer extension activities, and that's just one of them there that it's the learning designers enjoyed putting that together to make it interactive and engaging. It's not a textbook. You're not reading through a big PDF of stuff. There's videos, audio files, things to click on and things to do, research to be done. So we'll find that it's hopefully suitable for people working in a range of different companies and organizations. Alison.
Thank you, Jason. I think that's it for today in terms of questions. We have tried our best to address them all. There are a few duplicated there, but we have answered all of them. So thank you so much for submitting your questions and to offer your time today for this session. I would like to encourage you all to please complete the survey at the end of the webinar. So as soon as you click on end, you will receive a quick survey. It's 2 minutes, 4 questions for us to improve and to know if you want to hear about any other topics. I would like to thank you, Jason Fletcher from EEA and Libby Day from the Defence Teaming Centers for being so flexible, so kind to provide the knowledge and experience today with us. Really thankful for this partnership and looking forward to welcome all the participants in our next intake for the graduate program.
Thanks, Alison, and thanks, Libby, and thanks, everybody, for attending today. It's been an interesting session, and I hope you've enjoyed it. As Alison said, there'll be a survey that comes out, and we'll make a recording available as well if you want to view it post this workshop and perhaps share that with other people in your organisation. But please reach out if you've got questions or if you'd like to talk about how this program can help you and your organisation. So thanks, everybody. Libby, do you want a final word?
I just thank you. It's been really informative and engaging, and looking forward to a fruitful and long relationship with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Libby, and thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.